years, I kept a factory alive that should have died a dozen times. I knew which transformer hummed wrong in winter, which line blew if you looked at it sideways. Then one day, the owner's son fired me in front of everyone and called me too expensive. So I did the only thing I could do without breaking the law. I walked away, and one quiet decision I'd made months earlier ended up costing them $50 million. My name is Janet Miller. I started at Westlake Metals straight out of community college when I was 22. Back then, the factory felt like a living thing. You didn't just walk in, you listened to the hum, the vibration, the way the lights flickered when the furnaces kicked on. For 2 decades, I was the power lady. If a breaker tripped at 2 a.m., they called me. If a storm was coming, I slept with my boots by the door. But the grid was old. I kept warning them. One good surge, one bad decision, and this whole place goes dark. Then the founder retired, and his son Eric took over. Eric liked 3 things: expensive watches, buzzwords, and cutting costs he didn't understand. He called it modernizing, but to him, people were just line items on a spreadsheet. In the first month, he slashed the maintenance budget in half and canceled my request for a backup transformer. One Monday, he called a town hall in the break room. He stood on a chair with that fake TED Talk posture and said, "We're trimming the fat. Some of you are legacy costs." Then he pointed straight at me. "Janet's role is redundant. Software can do most of what she does now. We thank her for her years of service. People think revenge starts in the moment you're hurt. Mine started 6 months earlier, when they ignored my last report. I'd listed every brittle cable, every overloaded breaker. I wrote in plain English, if line 3 and the smelter run at full capacity during peak summer load, the main transformer can fail catastrophically." The old CEO wrote back, "We'll talk." Eric never did, so I did 2 things. First, I documented everything. Second, I quietly stepped back from signing off on any new temporary fixes. I made sure, on paper, that responsibility for those decisions sat squarely with Eric and his new consultants. When he fired me, I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I thanked the crew, cleaned out my locker, and took one last slow walk through the plant. I paused in front of the main control panel. There it was, the switch. Just a simple control that routed power through the safer path I designed years ago, and the cheaper shortcut Eric's consultants insisted on using. I didn't flip anything, I didn't sabotage the plant, I just looked at the labels, took a photo for my records, and walked away. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all and let their own choices run their full course. 2 weeks later, a heat wave hit. Westlake Metals pushed production into overdrive to impress a new investor. I was at home, watering my plants, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Group chats, missed calls, photos. The first video was from an old co-worker. The lights in the factory were strobing like a horror movie. Then everything went black. The main transformer had blown. The bypass line they'd installed overloaded and failed. One of the smelters seized mid-pour. By the end of the day, the estimates were already circulating. Over $50 million in damage, weeks of downtime, contracts lost. A week later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a board member, calm voice, lawyer on the line. "Janet, we'd like to understand your previous reports." I walked into that boardroom with a single folder. Every warning, every denial, every signature. That wasn't mine. I didn't shout. I didn't gloat. I just answered questions. When they asked, "Could this have been prevented?" I looked them in the eye and said, "Yes," with the backup equipment I requested. A month later, Eric was stepping down to pursue other opportunities. Their statement blamed unforeseen technical issues. The workers' group chat called it what it was, karma. Did I get my job back? No, I didn't want it. Because somewhere between being humiliated in that break room and watching the news of the meltdown, I realized something. My worth was never tied to one factory. Today, I work as an independent safety consultant. I help small plants design systems that don't need a miracle worker to keep them alive. I charge what my time is worth. And when someone says I'm too expensive, If you've ever been discarded after giving your whole heart to a job, this part is for you. You are not redundant. You are not too expensive. Sometimes the universe doesn't let you stay where you're needed. It lets you walk away, so the truth has room to collapse what was always unstable. That collapse might look like revenge, but what comes after, the peace, the self-respect, that's hope. Hope beyond hurt. If you're ready to turn your hurt into hope, hit subscribe.